Aye. Our most monumental battle was with Fusion. Fusion Crew.
Yeah.
That was in, where was that place?
It was in Ritzy in Tottenham.
The Ritzy.
If you want, man, yeah. Are you pausing it? Did you pause it?
We go back into that.
Yeah, carry on. He's going to chop it up after anyway. He ain't going to put all that thing there.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel me now.
The most monumental battle was Fusion.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you do what you're doing.
Yeah, man. Fusion Crew.
Tell us about a memorable battle you had.
Boy, back in the days, man. Yeah, it gives me a buzz when I think about it, man. Because it's not to say that we were sort of like bigging up ourselves, but you know when someone is, you know when you're confident in something, and it's like you just go ahead and do it. You don't even think about it. That's what our Jedis and the hard rock was like. We had no fear. Do you know what I mean? We just did what we had to do and get it out of the way. And it's not to say we'd hang around after we've done it, hang around and wait for praises. We just do what we do and get out. For instance, I don't know if you guys remember, Electric Ballroom in Camden Town. Me and Frank, the crew was there, but it was me and Frankie tried to sort of like get to see this sort of like break character that was breakdancing in the crowd, and we couldn't get it. For some reason, we just couldn't get through into the front to sort of like see what was going on. So Franklin came up with the idea, Rand, you think you can jump over them? I thought, yeah, man, let's do that. Let's just put some martial art going in there, you know what I'm saying? So what happened was Franklin got his hands together, his fingers like this, and I put my feet up and he flicked me over. And I literally went over the crowd. I don't know, I can't even sort of like tell you if it was sort of like time, but we just done it at that instant moment. He flicked me over, I went straight into the middle of into the dancer, done a couple of leg work, straight into windmill. I think it was the fastest windmill I'd ever done, man. Literally, flipped up, pretend that I was dead, got up and walked out. Everyone was going, what? After a while now, people come to me, yeah, you hit my head, man. No, I didn't, man. I didn't hit nobody, man. Yeah, who crew you are? Yeah, with the hard rock, man. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you're good, bad. Yeah, that was a memorable moment, man. That was good.
Sugar.
Damn.
Oh,
see,
wow.
Right.
Well, just tell us how many battles you had.
Okay. Right. So me, when it comes to battles, because I was like in London in the early days when we were all still learning quite a little bit, and when all the crews were forming, and just like when everything formed, that's when I left. Right, so my kind of battles were like in the early days when we first learnt the moves. Remember, we went down to Electric Ballroom, we had all the same clothes on, and you lot pushed me in there because I just learnt the windmill. Right, and that's, so for me, that was a big moment. I might tell you, my heart was pumping, and it was like, just go for it, and that was a memorable moment for me when I first dropped the windmill in Electric Ballroom. You know what I mean? And yeah, from then the name was put on the map, so that was nice. Breakazoids was well known now. A crew to be watched, and but I remember I heard someone say it, but a move that I remember before I left as well was the Jedi move, right? Because they were small as well, right? So I think they come down to Electric Ballroom, right? And there was a circle there, and they couldn't get into the circle. Next thing, you just saw one of them men just flying over the crowd, and hit the floor and just drop straight into a move. And went into a backspin,
didn't
they?
back into a backspin. I give that was a good was a good entrance.
I remember that.
And a couple of times I've been at some jams, you know, and I wish I could do that move to get into that circle, the middle of the circle. But I learned a way how to get into the circle, but it's on all fours. Crawl through legs. But I wish I could always do that move there. I remember that move. That was an early move though. But for me, because I left early, and it was doing more performances, shows and that. I didn't really get into the battle. It more turned a showmanship breaker. And then when we came back, we had to battle our crew as well. They put us on the spot. Since we've been away for 3 months, 4 months, what have you lot learned? You know what I mean? And put us on the spot. So those were good battles as well. When we came back, you know, battling the crew again, you know, keep us up to scratch. You know, remind us we got to be raw, because when you do the entertainment, you kind of brush yourself off a little bit, you know? So, yeah, so for me, Mark could talk about battles. He was here more, you know?
A memorable battle? Cool. We had a few battles, but the battles with us was so easy because we'd win them, you know. But it's because we had like specified guys who could just come and bust like, you know, specified moves, and you know, we had the best like turtle. We had the best sort of head spinner. I was a head spinner, but you know, sometimes my head spin didn't come off, but a lot of the times it did, and you know, we had certain guys who could do good moves, like Randolph the fly windmill. Kelvin had the fly windmill, I had the fly windmill. We had a few guys, you know, we had this guy called Ozzy one time, I remember, a Turkish guy, and he could bust a good halo. His halo was amazing. We did a thing, and he was like, yes, he's in the crew, you know. They used to come and audition or whatever for us, and so we'd be like, yeah, bust the moves, and yeah, you're in the crew.
Okay, yeah. I don't remember many, but I do remember one. And you know what? I was thinking about this battle because this is the early stages. And I'm not 100%, but I'm sure I had to escort someone to, it may have been the Jedi crew or a few members of the Jedi crew. I can't remember if it was Paul Barmer or Franklin. I can't remember, but there was a battle in Stratford. Funny enough, that's the area where I'm living now. And I remember getting the train, going there, and the battle was in the Stratford shopping complex. It was in there, and I don't remember the name of the crew, but I went along as a support with the Jedi, but they had it. I remember they had it. This crew that's battling, they represented. They came off on top. Yeah. So it was cool. I can't remember who it was, but maybe they got a better recollection or memory of that event. But that was one of them.
And there's another battle. What about the one in Tottenham with Fusion and Jedi?
Yeah, well, we had a few battles, let me tell you. Well, my most memorable one would be the one we had in Lyceum. The Lyceum, I think it was called the Lyceum, in the West End with a breakdancing crew, but I think the name was Street something. I don't think it was Street Rockers. But they were a crew from Covent Garden, and they were rated as probably the best crew in London, if not England. And yeah, we bumped into them at the Lyceum, and we jumped on stage, they jumped on stage, and the same night, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were playing, doing a live gig at that concert. So it was after their concert that we jumped on the stage along with the other crew, and we had a battle on stage in front of a full packed audience, you know what I mean? And everyone was really enjoying it. Everyone was on it, and yeah, it was a really great battle. And yes, we came out on top. So yeah, we held it up for North London that night, guys. Yeah, definitely.
I remember when they started doing all-dayers.
Yeah.
Up north.
Oh yeah, we went to.
Up north, man. We went to one in a coach. Went to a couple. Went to a couple. Birmingham.
Yeah, that was
Rock City.
Rock City. Yeah, that was a good.
That was one battle. That's when all the records come through. You had all the London crews coming through.
Yeah, everyone
and
from
now,
the UK. Now this was
London
UK.
was just battling all them records coming down from South, from Southampton. You had the battles coming down from Birmingham. The battles. You had Rock City,
Liverpool, and Manchester, man.
You had Smack 19 there. You had the Rock City crew from Nottingham. You had it was Birmingham.
See your breakdancers, mate?
Breakdancers, yeah, those breakings that we had. Because really, then that's when you had London beat all of them, all the others. Yeah. And that battle just went on for the whole night.
Yeah, that was true, innit? Yeah.
That
was where one man did the chair windmill as well.
Yeah,
the first chair windmill as well.
That was heavy.
Man had to go back and
work
on the mills now, headmans,
yeah.
crane windmills, crutch windmill. After seeing the chair windmill, that was it, boy. Remember the chair windmill?
Yeah. So those days are nice. I mean, when people talk about hip hop and breakdancing and the battling, they've got to know the history and really and what it was about. Because once you had your crew, you had to then prove. Yeah. You know, you have to defend your name.
And especially you're wearing your colours as well, innit?
Yeah.
And days you're wearing the colours, the team colour.
Yeah. So for me, it is those days, that stage of breaking was at its peak for me.
I think it was the one at the Lyceum. I can't remember any others other than that, but the most serious one was at the Lyceum. We were as ready to roll, and we rolled that night.
So who was that against?
Oh, I can't. You know, I can't remember the name of the crew.
There was a few. I suppose every area had their own crew. So yeah, there were a few crews out there at the time. Yeah.
Later on, as you know, life changes take place, people get older, you know, you get different responsibilities in life, people started fading away. And for me, as it was, I was still on the scene then, but then in the later stages, I joined a crew called Lift a Break that was made up of different breakers, like Hallett was there from the Jedi crew, you had Business that was there from Zulu Rockers, you had, who else was in it from Sidewalk? Airborne was a part of it as well. I'm not sure if Double D was there. So you had from Sidewalk, so you had all the breakers from some of the main crews that came together. But for me, that was, even though that was a brilliant time in hip hop, but it was before that stage. It's the stages that led up to that, for me, that was the prime of the breaking era. That was the prime of the breaking era when we all had our crews. That was up and coming, and that was established then.
Established, yeah.
Because for me, when we talk about the old school breaking days, it was then. It was then. Those were the old school breaking days.
Yeah, Union Churches, Stapleton Road, wherever.
That was when. That's when it. Yeah, that was the
telling
peak
you.
for me. That was the peak of breakdancing. So it depends.
All right, a memorable battle I had. It wasn't the best battle I had, but it was memorable. That's the question I got asked. A memorable battle. All right, so we're all kids and young and whatnot, and some adult-looking brother called Nelson arrives, and one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden this guy's like acting like Shabadoo on Breakdance. I didn't know what was going on, and he starts battling with me, and I just thought, what the? Anyway, back then, like, I hadn't really battled too strong before, so I was nervous, and like the adrenaline was running through me, and I was just thinking, what's going on? What's going on? Anyway, this battle went on and on and on and on. I could even hear the clock ticking in my mind, you feel me? And as much as I feel like I won that battle, which I did, what I didn't really understand back then was just how fanatical some people were about it. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like this brother had heard that I could dance a bit, or quite a bit, and just had decided that day he would burn me. And that day he didn't. But then I have to admit though, Carl did jump in at the end and kind of show that street rockers. Oh yeah.
Fusion was
The Ritzy?
yeah man, it was at Ritzy. He was at Ritzy. These guys, man, these guys heard about us,
Yes,
right? But
yes.
you see, like earlier on when I mentioned about North London crews, like Breakazoids, Jedis, Street Rockers, Soul Sonic Rockers, we Breakers was kind of, you know what I mean? We were
This is
good
when
to
we
each
come
other.
out. This is when we come
We
out.
was all good to each other.
We
But
was just coming out. We was just coming out there.
Tottenham was a bit out of boundaries, and they wanted to be a bit ignorant.
Yeah.
They heard that, you know what I mean? Today there's this crew called Jedis and all that. The whole concept was all about who was to run North London.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We know there's crews all around and all that, but the whole juggle was who's going to be the prodigal son in North London. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So we didn't call up the battle, you know. They called us.
We just went there.
We just went there because that's the club that they hang around.
Yeah.
And they knew we was coming, and they were equipped.
They were equipped.
They were equipped, but
They
we
was
was
on.
more equipped because they didn't have they didn't have one set of like, it didn't matter about the clothing and all that. We was all set it up, you know what I mean, kitted up, nice with our top and bottoms. And,
Oh, this was after.
this was after, was
It
it?
was after.
Oh, see.
When we went there first, we was not experienced. We weren't ready for the jump off, right? They came with it. They brought it. You know what I mean? So we gave it to them. You know what I mean?
because
They
we wasn't
brought it.
enough of us. There wasn't enough of us.
There were certain
There's a few-
elements what we didn't have.
Right.
And they had it. They had their tracksuits, they had this and that, and they was jumping on us.
Right.
You remember Turtle T and them man there? Right. So they was on their game. They was on their A game. But you know what?
It was the second
that was
time.
great for us because that inspired us to go back down to the garages and train our arse off, man. Get our shit together. And no, we was practicing in the Union Church then. Yeah? and we went back there.
That's where Breakazoids used to train as well, but none of us used to see any of them move. Doors
we
were
went
locked.
back there and we got our A game together. And I mean, we worked our arse off to get our shit together to go back for them.
Yeah, that's right.
In which we did.
Yeah, we did. And then
we burnt the fuck out of them.
Yeah, we
You
roasted them. Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
We had,
No doubt,
we had
no-
all our tracksuits
That's right.
and everything.
Yeah, no doubt
Our game was tight.
Yeah, yeah.
And my brother is Derek, he choreographed all the extra moves,
yeah.
right?
And our
The
theme
sets.
track was,
Wow.
what was the theme track?
Phenomenal.
Let the music play. Let the music play. It was let the music.
That's right.
That's
right, that's right.
But not only
We
in
fucked
Union
them
we
up.
was practicing Haringey Boys Club as well.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
man,
41 route. That
we
was a
went
real
back for their
motherfucking
arse,
place. That's
man,
right.
And we roasted their ass.
That's right.
Big time.
Yeah, there
It
was a
such
moment-
a clear margin.
Listen.
That it was like, no, you just know.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's Jedi's, man, ruling this.
After when we cleared Fusion, word got around on all this. I mean, us and Breakazoids are kind of like cousins, brothers, man.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We went through late night era.
Yeah.
We went through hip hop era. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when they heard it, they kind of got itchy a little bit, and they wanted to know. And that's how we kind of. I think there was a time they tried to pick on us in Haringey Boys Club.
All right.
I remember that when Warren came in and all that. Because we remember when Warren had a badass windmills. Warren had badass windmills way before me.
in North London.
Yeah, Warren had his
Man.
windmills better than mine. Reason why is because the video that we exchanged down at Morocco's Kid Freeze had head mills. He was doing head mills, and when I saw Warren do head mills, I said, what the fuck, man? How the fuck am I gonna get that?
That was real helicopter.
That's right.
We
We used to call it helicopter and then windmills and all that.
That was real helicopter,
And when we had done it with Rockers and I sussed out how it's done, I went back to Franklin's garage on the
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
and I was practicing on hard concrete, and he
You
was
remember
screaming
the
out.
day when Warren come down?
That's right.
And he
And he rocked it.
demonstrated
Yeah,
it
demonstrated
in the
it, that's
garage.
right. Yeah.
And he was in black. Yeah. And when he rocked that shit, we was like, whoa. Shit.
Yeah, Warren rocked it nice, man.
There were a few crews out there at the time, yeah.
And that was mostly north, south, east, and west.
Yeah. Every area had a crew. But we did travel to areas to battle crews, yes. And yeah, we had a few battles. And yeah, we kicked ass, man. I don't think we lost the battle, to be honest with you. We entered competitions, local competitions, and we battled other crews and we won. I don't think we ever lost the battle, to be honest with you. So yeah. Jedi, hard rock breakers, running things, yeah?
Because of the tape that he had, because in Wild Style, there weren't no windmills. You see it there? Wild Style weren't no
that's
windmills.
right.
We didn't know about windmills then. Until
Dynamic rockers,
until the tape were exchanged, then we went, that looks like Warren's mills. And Kid Freeze was busting head mills. So I started practicing windmills and then started getting on my head. And he was going like this to me, and I'll never forget. It's just like vivid. I remember it vividly, like yesterday. Like when I used to do it, he was going, go on, Hallie, go on, Hallie, get it, you gotta get it, you gotta get it.
For real,
And I was practicing hard, man.
Practicing hard.
Late night, I was
remember
really
that.
late as well.
Yeah.
And there was times that we was recording ourselves as well. I think it was a big JVC kind of camera around. I don't know whose camera it was, but there was a few footages of us as well and all that. But yeah, I mean, Breakazoid was getting itchy as well when they heard that battle that Fusion lost, because it was showing that we was getting there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
heavyweights,
But we
man.
wanted to keep everything.
That's when the name went global.
Yeah, but we
North
wanted to keep
London
we wanted to
area.
keep things nice with Breakazoids
After
anyway.
that battle.
Ever since we was nice with Breakazoids, we never flipped over to each other or nothing like that. There was a time that when they
What,
used to come into
electrics?
Union, right, to practice their hour, they used to close the door and leave the key there so no man can poke through the eyelid piece, you know what I mean? But you know, I mean, I could tell you who was my favourites in Breakazoids, you know what I mean? I'm not slagging off no one or nothing. I know the whole shebang. I know Junior. Look, Tom Thumb was there, Junior was there. And the other brother, I don't know, Mark Anderson
Mark
was there,
Anderson,
Warren, and there's this other brother, he was living in Black Boy Lane. Junior, that's right. Them cats were all cool.
And then you got Anthony Edwards.
That's
and
right,
you got,
and Anthony Edwards. Yeah, Anthony Edwards.
My man.
Warren, Mark Anderson.
My man, Papa, but Belgrave.
Yeah, David Belgrave. That's right. These guys are from
Belgrade,
David
man.
Belgrade,
Yeah,
that's right.
man,
I love
that's
it,
right.
love him, man. He's cool. He's cool.
That's our
These guys were
brothers.
fucking talented. I mean,
Yeah,
they were good,
super
man. I mean,
nice.
they were good, man. You see,
Super nice.
You see, when you watch Star Wars and Wildstar, all you're doing is ground floor, just like Silver Fox. You know what I mean? Ground floor. But when we saw Dynamic Rockers, we saw all windmills and that and this as well. You know what I mean? But that's how it is, and we caught up on that. You know what I mean? And we was the kings, man. We was the kings and queens, man, in North London, no doubt. You know what I mean? But
we even have girls in the crew, innit?
that's right. We had
females as well.
Yeah, we had 2 girls.
We had
up in there, innit?
Michelle. We had Michelle in our crew. Yeah, man. We had Michelle in our crew.
One named Juanita.
There was a Bonita. Another one. Yeah.
Memorable battle would be with London All Stars, but I wasn't actually there for that battle. You know, I was elsewhere. You know, I think wherever 6 brothers, they went and battled London All Stars in Lyceum in the Strand. And that was a huge battle because we had a warm up. We bumped into them in Lyceum one time, and like we were squared up. And one of our guys, he squared up against one of their guys, and the bouncers got so excited, I think they were gonna fight. It was just a b-boy square up, you know, and they threw them both out of the club. So then after we said we have to battle these people. So like the next week we arranged it, you know, and we went back there, and I missed it, you know, being busy doing other things. And I know we were successful in that battle. I'm sure they had it was like battling all of Hackney all over again, because we battled London All Stars when they were originally Zulu Rockers, and that was virtually all of Hackney. You know, it was like a big massive crew, you know, 7 Jedis versus how many, you know, I lost count. But those were memorable battles, and the battles we had with Fusion Crew, though we had 2 battles with them, you know. Every day we battled so many people. If anybody said they were the best, we said, well, let's see if you're the best then. Come and battle you.
Yeah, I can't recall, but I know they were dressed in black tracksuits and we were in our red ones. So red against blackness. It was good. The crowd in the Lyceum actually stopped. The DJ was a bit shocked at what was going on. He made sure he put the selections on, and yeah, I felt good.
You know, I remember there was one battle one time. I think some members of Street Rockers, they told us some guys wanted to battle us, and they were mouthing off. It was like, what? They want to battle us? Do they know what they're dealing with? So we got up Sunday morning, everything fresh, trainers, laces all ironed up, tracksuit. We got to where was it? Hendon. We got up to Hendon, and they took us to the place. We went up the stairs, and when we saw who it was just a couple of little youths. And when they saw us, they took their chin hit the floor because they saw us looking fresh. Trainers, they knew this was like what, like ninjas fighting little children, you know. Can't come with us. So they put on their little tape with their music. And we thought, what? We don't dance to that. So I took out my tape and I threw in the Tough Brothers mix, and they was like, the chin hit the floor again, and then like their liner was good. It was fast. So I come out, I did a little backspin, and you know they freaked out on that. And then another one of our Jedi brothers, he tested the floor and he did the windmill and added more insult to injury. Trainer was a bit loose and flew off and hit one of them in the face.
See, you know, it's like with the scene there with developing with the b-boy, b-girl. It's the Kangol hat, the goose jacket, the Puma suede, the Lee jeans, the gold belt buckle to pose your name. That essence was a culture. That was like the code for respecting yourself. The whole culture scene, like a movement, going towards you're going towards your goals. Being no disrespectful because you've got your nice garments on. So hip hop back then was very cultural. And you see the movements, they say it was the breakdancing, the graffiti, the the rap music. That's about it, I think. Did I say the graffiti as well?
If I remember rightly, Fusion was sort of like, I wouldn't say they're our enemy, but they were sort of like on the outside of our circle. Do you know what I mean? They were sort of like, every now and then we'd sort of had to put a couple of crews in check. Do you know what I mean? Just to let them know that, you know, you can't come in this ring and dominate. That don't work like that. It's not happening. So if I remember rightly, again, I think it was in Electric Ballroom. We were having a battle with them. But because they were so frustrated with us, because although we were the Jedis and the hard rock, we still had the force from the Jedi crew times, and we sort of like brought that into the hard rock times. So it's like when we were sort of like battling, we all had the force together. There was like a shield. You know what I mean? Nobody could sort of like penetrate that. You know what I mean? So when we were sort of like breaking, especially with this crew that you're talking about, they were quite frustrated. And what was happening? They were sort of like, while they were doing their moves, I don't know if the guys will remember this, they were sort of like unstripping themselves. And we're thinking, nah, you do what you want to do, man, because that's not our thing, man. We're professionals here. Do you know what I'm saying?
It was like an art, you know what I mean? And we'd sort of have it down. So it was hard, but there was a sort of a peer pressure to learn certain moves. Because, you know, if you didn't know windmill or stuff or whatever, if you couldn't do a windmill or if you couldn't do like a bit of footwork or whatever, you weren't doing as much, do you know? So in a battle, you'd be like left, you know, out like with, you know, left naked out there because, you know, you'd have to bust the moves, you'd have to, you know, partake.
We did some shows. I remember performing in a show, trying to remember who got that. Did I get it or did we all get that? We performed in Bruce Grove in Tottenham, a famous club down there. I performed in front of my dad. Yeah. I performed in front of my dad and his friends in that club. I think it had something to do with organising that, actually. The club was called Shady Grove.
Yeah, Shady Grove, yeah.
Performed there the night. We performed in Wilston. I'm trying to remember what the event was. It was not the library. They had another banqueting suite in Wilson that we performed in. That was a special occasion. We performed in, what's the other performances? Oh, I won't forget.
The one at the South Bank or something.
South Bank. Oh, listen, I've got to bring this. I had to bring this. I'm sorry, man. I had to bring this.
Oh, you bought it? Oh, you found it? Oh, wicked.
I don't know if you remember the. I don't know if you
wicked.
remember the South Bank.
Yeah.
Tim Westwood, I don't know if you want to talk.
I
don't want to bring that guy up too often, but Tim Westwood was.
Oh, sugar, man. You got Wilbur Anthony there. Who's that?
Listen.
And you there as well.
Yeah, this Breakers right now. This.
Oh boy, man, I'm not even in. That's what I'm saying. Two places at once, man. I gotta cry, man.
I've got to
seeing that. What a rubbing.
Anthony Edwards from the Breakers right. He's one of our poppers, one of the baddest poppers we never know. Yeah. He's the one that got me this article.
You mentioned it yesterday as well.
This article was recorded in one of this, because back then you had the GLC days, which was funding a lot of community events. And this was a big deal because this event was on South Bank and it was Tim Westwood was a part of it and was performing. It's actually recorded on BBC television, it's on the news. And the thing is, in this article, they made the mistake of naming us after the Southampton crew. They called us in here, which was vexed, man. Broken Glass.
Oh, Broken Glass.
They called us Broken Glass of a Breakers hood. We were vexed. Broken Glass was from. Are they Southampton?
Yeah, Southampton or
Broken
something.
Glass, yeah. They called us Broken Glass, man. And we were Breakers hoods.
Broken Glass everywhere.
Yeah. That's me there. You've got June his back to us. That's Anthony our popper, and that's Will Johnson, the actor. Yeah. So, and that's they called him. What's his crew?
Who's Bionic? Is that
Bionic?
Is that Bionic?
That's Bionic.
Oh,
He's known for his moves, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
wicked.
Big. Those are the big. To me, that era was the prime era for us in breaking. So. We did quite a number of performances. One of the biggest performances I've actually personally was in was with Will. It was with Will. And we got a performance in Monte Carlo in front of the Prince of Monaco. And that was in a Royal Variety show there, and we performed there with me and Will and myself, with a number of dancers there, and that's the biggest performance I was involved in. That was just epic, man. I couldn't believe how we was being treated. This is in a top hotel.
Wicked.
We was just spoiled rotten. Seriously, man, we were around some beautiful people. Wow. The women we was around. Damn. Serious.
Back in the days.
Yeah, serious, man. It is the top. It is the top it can ever be.
Now you know why it's great dancing.
5-star hotel in Monte Carlo, man. We actually walked on the famous Grand Prix track there.
Oh, nice.
And one evening they took us into, we had to put on bow ties and go into the Grand Casino there. That's where millionaires just throw away money. That experience with me for life. I'll never forget it. But it was breaking that got me there.
Yeah.
So, beautiful time. Beautiful time, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, there was another crew in our area, in the Hornsey area, and that was the Breakazoids. They were good. They were a bit older than us lot, and I suppose I could say they kind of inspired us as well, because I think they started just before us, but you know, we got on it as well, and yeah, man, they were really good, and they went on to travel Europe. I think they might have even travelled the world teaching breakdancing, but that was about 20 years ago, and they done it for a good while. I think they're teaching in schools now. So yeah, they done really, really well out of it.
What's hip hop made out of?
You know,
Is that the music, the popping?
the music, the popping, yeah, the music, the hip hop. As I say, hip hop now in the 80s and the 70s was, as I say, was just made up. What they say, fun and loving, fun, loving, and having fun, or something like that. But as I say, hip hop is just about expressing yourself, having fun, right? As I say, the dance came into it was a bonus. As I say, being in that environment kept you out of trouble.
The Turtle Rock, I called it, and it all derives from martial arts. You know, one of the things we used to do was go to the late night movies, and that inspired us. And one of the sayings Bruce Lee used to say was about the water in the cup. The moves had to be smooth. Be the water and not the cup.
If you saw a video and you saw a move and you said, I want to be able to practice that move, you studied that move hard on video, and then you went off and tried and practiced it. And you know, it depended how you wanted to dance. You know, I really was inspired by Crazy Legs and Rocksteady, and so I copied a lot of his moves. You know, I mean, at one point I was called crazy. I did call myself Crazy Feet, but I did have to change that when I actually met him, and I had it on my T-shirt and on my tracksuit bottom, and he saw it and he was like, "Can you break?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Can you break right here?" This is in the hotel. And I thought, no. And he was like, "Oh, well, I can." I thought, oh, I got burned immediately. So, you know, from then I didn't carry the name. I just looked for a different name after that, you know? And I was like, big slap.
All right. There was Jedi's crew. There was Street Rockers, of course, us. There was, what was that crew up in Covent Garden? Something Rockers. Zulu Rockers. Zulu Rockers had a really big following back then, and they had some great dancers and body poppers. Some said that they were the best, but you know, others said that Breakazoid was the best. Breakazoid was North London's strongest crew, as far as we knew anyway. Then you had Fusion. The Fusion, that was down in Tottenham. That was pretty good. There was loads of crews. You know, be honest, nearly around every block was another crew. That's how it used to be. They were everywhere.
Yeah, some of the moves were hard, but you know, because like I said, we were young and determined, we wouldn't let nothing faze us. You know, once we were determined to master this particular move, whether it be turtle, the swipe, a particular form of a windmill, you know, whatever it may be, You know, we'd practice it until we got it. And then when we got it, we mastered it. And then, you know, we'd take it from there.
80s and 90s. That new move, what they do called, what do you call it? Not a flare, halo. Fuck, it escapes my mind. You know the one where they go over? It's like a scissors kick.
Yeah, the flares.
It's like it's
a handstand flare.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But what's it called? I forgot what it's called. Oh fuck, I can't remember, Carl.
Don't worry, man.
Something I know them not's gonna say, oh, you didn't say this, you didn't say that. I know they're gonna say, because that's because I'm the damn first one. What is that damn move, man? But it don't matter. I think I got most of all the important stuff.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Well, I missed out on being on the Children's Royal Variety Show for the Queen. I was out again on other business. I was home at the time, but I was phoned, so I missed out. I would have been on that.
Yeah, we did a couple. I remember there was a competition one night in Haringey Boys, and we heard about it. I think it was the other side of the West End. And they said to go and collect the prize, and it was hard for people to collect the prize, so we made our way up there, and we went in there and collected the prize.
Yeah.
What was your hardest one to learn?
As I said, my hardest one was the 99. I never conquered it. But all the other moves, hand spin, back spin, crazy feet, up rocking, windmills. Windmill was my thing because I'd always used to sort of like combine anything that was to do with spinning. So I was sort of like, you know, do a couple of leg movement, do a couple of spins on my back, flick up again onto my sort of like crazy leg style, and then go straight into my windmill, and then from there go straight into a sort of like a jump up or a play dead sort of like scenes, you know. But it's all about combinations.
And through my breaking, when I started, I mean, it wasn't looking to perform or anything, but like I said, we went to audition, got picked, went to first I went to Austria with Pirate. Floor mat, he can glide really good. Remember Pirate?
Oh yes,
yes. And then once I got a little feel of that, flying on the plane, that was my first time out of the country. And then another audition came up, and that was to go to like Scandinavia. So I took the opportunity, went there as well, and then just performances. I tell you, at one time when we first went there, we used to do like 15 performances on a Saturday, right? 15 minutes each, I'm telling you, right? And so that was me, Dave, and then later on we came back and got back Anthony Edwards as well. So we've been performing over there quite a lot in Scandinavia for quite a lot. They know us good in Scandinavia. And then over the years, we made another crew in Scandinavia called Out of Control with a couple of Danish guys. And where we've been teaching, performing in a lot of different places. I don't even want to start my CV. But too much.
Yeah, it's a whole new
spreading
story,
the love. We were
chapter.
just spreading love. To us, it was just spreading the love. But the performance was nice. I did more performance than battles, like I said as well. You know, that was the direction. But someone had to be the disciple out there, you know, and spread it. Yeah. So that's what we did. Yeah. But lots of shows.
I mean, after a certain time, there was just crews everywhere, you know. To keep track, we did really keep track on certain names of. We just battled people, you know.
Yeah, we did. We at one point we had a manager. Yeah, some guy, and apparently it was one of the members of the crew. His name was Ozzy. I forgot to mention Ozzy. He was a pretty good breakdancer as well, but he had a brother who was in the managerial side of things. He was our agent sort of thing. He got us work. So we'd do fashion shows in the West End at Harrods and places like that. We'd done Harrods and a few other top branch shops up there. He got us some work when they had their fashion shows. In the intervals, we'd go on and do a breakdance show, and like, you know, it was really good. And yes, we would practice routines and all sorts of things to do in that show. So we had about 10 minutes to do what we had to do. So yeah, we spent a lot of time at Union Hall practicing routines for what we'd be doing at the next show and things like that. So yeah, we were really on it.
Street rockers, Breakazoids. I wasn't really familiar with the others. Yeah, I can't remember. I only knew the ones who were in Hornsey, really. But Franklin and Hallett used to venture out a lot and find out the information and bring it back to house.
All right.
Yeah, today's. Let me tell you something, man. If the people who I'm talking to right now, if any of you guys know about breaking, the past and present, yeah. The difference is style, man. I mean, look. When hip-hop's been going on for about 40 years now, all right? More than 40 years, 45. You see, when it comes to breaking, graffiti, DJ and MC is different. When it comes to breaking, for me, when you look into 40 odd years, from beginning to now, in a bird's eye view, my favorite era of b-boying and hip-hop is 78 to 84, 85, you understand? Or 80 to 84, 85. After 85, you know what I mean? It all kind of like went off key off the style. You know what I mean? Everyone started streeting it out, man, you know what I mean? None of the Star Wall or no skankydelicness, you know what I mean? You're going too commercial, you're going Chuck Norris instead of, you know what I mean? That's it. Style is a must. Because there's so, you know, today, for the last 10, 15 years, I've been looking at like French breakers, American breakers, that breakers, this breakers. Most of them don't do the style that we used to do. You understand?
We was different.
You understand? I'm not saying they should do it, and if they're not doing it, they ain't called breakers. I enjoy what I see or what they're doing. They've got so much energy and that and this. But deep down, the difference is sensing what you're doing. You've got to make sense out of what you're doing on the floor. Don't avoid the beat and the music as well. You understand what I'm saying? You've got to make sense out of what you're doing. A Flavor Flav, you know what I mean? It's like Wing Chun and Praying Mantis. It's all different. It's different. You know what I mean? He can do the same move, I could do the same move, but the way he does the move and the way I do the move, there has to be difference. It can't be the same. The flow is different. Today's breaking is more acrobatical, man. I mean, you've probably heard this from other breakers in the past and present as well. I don't dislike it, I like it, but it's not that, you know, like James Brown, you know when it's funk, man, and you with deep funk, man, no commercial shit. If you know how to head nod and feel to that and adapt to it, if you know how to tap into funk, you would know what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? B-boying is all about swerving it and being cheeky and showing off. You know what I mean? Showing off and being cheeky, especially if you know what you're doing. That move and that, man, you're showing off, you're oozing it. That's how it is, you're oozing it.
Freedom of expression.
Exactly, man. You know what I mean? I mean, breaking should be constant combinations, not so much just the one individual move, a flare into a windmill and then come up.
It's
very
interesting
that,
now, you know what I mean? I find it very interesting now because you see
I reckon
a
there's
lot
no
of
funk.
different
There's no funk.
expressions
There's a
of
lack
people.
of funk.
People expressing themselves how
Lack of
they
funk.
are.
There's
you know
a
what I mean?
lack
So
of
you're gonna see a lot of unique stuff coming out. That's what's happening nowadays. That's how I see the difference to it.
I've watched a few breaking videos. They call them b-boys now. A lot of the stuff I've seen on YouTube is quite fascinating. I post quite a few to Hallett to analyse. But when you really look at their moves, they're kind of gymnastic-y. They're not the hardcore. They're kind of showmanship. They don't show the hardcore learning or just raw stuff. It's kind of like, it's still good, but it's kind of like, it's light, you know, for showtime.
As for the moves, you know, I'd like to see a lot more foundation, which you don't really see. It's just like going onto a certain path where, you know, people are doing 2001s and 1990s for all 5 minutes unnecessarily, you know, not really showing their style and personality. You see 1990 or 2001, you see it before, you know? And that's how it's just kind of progressing, really. There's not really that character, that original top rock, you could recognize somebody from across the street or from the other side of the hall by their top rock, because that is their personal top rock. You know, you wouldn't know their name, but you know that person by their top rock. You don't really see that as much as before. But even though there is people who still do really practice the foundation and try and keep it going.
The only way is up, mate, because, you know, what these young kids are achieving now with their abilities, you know, I take my hat off to them. Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, I'm not too up with the breakdancing scene at the moment, but from what I see on the TV and bits and pieces, yeah, it's really good. I'm impressed.
So what was the type of music you listened to? And what was your favourite top 3 tunes, man?
My top 3 tunes was...
To break to?
My top 3, I think my first tune was Tilo Rock called It's Yours, right? My second one was Sucker MCs by Run DMC. And the third one was, it's an R&B crew, Gladys Knight and the Pits, saving the overtime for you. Gladys Knight and the Pits, yeah.
So what was it about them tunes? What made you get down?
Tilo Rock, It's Yours. That is the first kind of expressive dissing tune of hip hop. And when Electric Borns and they used to play that song, everybody used to go crazy. As we all know, Run DMC, Sucker MC was just hip hop through and through. As I say, with Gladys Knight and the Pips, saving the overtime for you was New York City Breakers breaking in that video.
And what's the difference between the gymnastics and the breaking then, in a certain sense, or that mixture within?
I think the breaking comes from the street. There's no choreography. Not that's the wrong word. There's no, I could influence a bit of gymnastics into it or what. It's from the street, hardcore learn.
Hey yo, the teeth can't stop my flow, rock Balboa. While you're drugged up like Ivan Drago. They're better off playing dodgeball against the cannons, because the lifestyle is fake like spray on tannins. Start shamming, I'm here to stop the famine and replenish all the consumers that you and your label was scamming.